Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we are breaking down a seriously chilling, dual-narrative horror story from the Lateefa family universe. Honestly, it masterfully weaves two totally different threads of terror together. On one side, we've got an isolated family trip that just goes horribly, horribly wrong. And on the flip side, the shocking capture of one of the most notorious villains in this entire lore. Yeah, Jeff the Killer. We're gonna map out all the suspense, the betrayals, and that creeping dread using info straight from the source. So buckle up and let's uncover exactly what happens when you completely ignore the warning signs and step right into the dark.
Okay, let's dive into this. What shadow is ultimately hiding in the farmhouse? The source material sets this up right out of the gate. It's not a matter of if something bad is going to happen, but what exactly that bad thing is. The story uses this idea of a creeping, inescapable shadow as, a metaphor for the sheer dread these characters are walking into. Let's keep this central question in the back of our minds as we unpack the timeline.
Part 1. Return and a warning. We are following Dada Abu, Dadi John, and the kids, Sweetu and Tudu, as they head back to a very notorious location, the exact same farmhouse where they first met the terrifying Granny.
Notice the completely different realities happening at the exact same time here. On one hand, you have Tutu and Sweetu. They're on holiday. They are just innocent kids totally pumped to spend a few days with their grandparents. But on the other side of the coin, there's the stark reality of where they're actually going. This farmhouse is definitely no sunny resort. It's dark, it's isolated, and it's practically radiating this eerie energy. It's such a brilliant contrast that really highlights the underlying dread. The kids are expecting a fun vacation, completely oblivious to the horror waiting for them.
Let's move to and see how this builds. So the journey kicks off in the evening with a pretty normal drive down the highway. But as dusk rolls in, things get a little weird. They pull over for this mysterious woman standing on the side of the road. At first, Dottie John thinks she just needs a lift to the city. But the second they mention they aren't heading to the city, but to their old farmhouse instead, her whole vibe completely shifts. And then, right at sunset, they finally pull up to the property. The absolute moment they mention the farmhouse, this mysterious stranger drops a seriously chilling warning. She says, "There is a shadow at that farmhouse." She literally begs them not to go. She tells them that because the place has been abandoned for so long, some sort of dark presence has moved in. And worse, she warns that whoever goes there will have this shadow follow them. It's your classic horror omen, placed perfectly right as the sun goes down to crank up that tension.
But of course, Dada Abu commits the ultimate horror movie mistake. He completely brushes off the warning. He literally calls the woman crazy, tells the kids to chill out, and drives the family straight into the dark. It's a super fascinating psychological moment. The adults are using pure logic to wave away the danger. But little Tudu? He is already terrified. Even as they pull up, he's sensing unseen watchers and feeling like this shadow is already closing in on them.
Meanwhile, a massive parallel plot is unfolding. Part 2, Jeff the Killer's captivity. While the family is driving straight toward danger, what exactly is the ultimate villain of this universe up to?
Well, far away from that creepy farmhouse, things are not going great for Jeff the Killer. The notorious villain has actually been captured, and he's not just locked up, he is absolutely enraged. The source material reveals a huge betrayal. Jeff was violently attacked and nearly killed by the very people he considered his friends. He is basically foaming at the mouth, just burning for revenge against his former crew. And this brilliantly illustrates the sheer scale of the conflict we're dealing with here. Just look at the targets of Jeff's revenge. We're talking Granny, Grandpa, Mr. Meat, Rod, Ice Cream Man, Jason, and Evil Nun. It's literally an all-star rogues gallery of villains. Jeff thought these guys were his friends, but he realizes they were just using him for their own evil plans. Now, he wants to hunt down every single one of them.
But wait, how did Jeff even get captured in the first place? Well, it all comes down to Professor Terra's device. This is a crazy piece of high-tech machinery implanted directly inside Jeff's brain. It lets his captors track his movements and basically control his actions. Professor Terra explains that she actually used this exact tech to agitate Jeff's friends and turn them against him. It was a completely calculated, brilliant trap that left Jeff battered, betrayed, and right where they wanted him.
This intense captivity leads us right into Part 3, A New Alliance. The whole dynamic shifts here as Mandy and Professor Terra negotiate with the deadly killer. Here's the high-stakes moment. Mandy looks at him and tells him straight up, "You will have to do a job for us." Jeff, being Jeff, threatens them. He says if he ever gets out, he won't spare anyone. But Mandy? She's completely unfazed. She leverages his intense desire for revenge, basically offering him the one thing he wants most in exchange for his help. It's a super tense negotiation, and it totally sets up the next major action sequence of the lore.
So, the crucial point is this exact three-step plan that Mandy and Tara are pulling off. Step 1, keep Jeff trapped so they hold all the cards. Step 2, offer him a deal to act as their personal weapon to catch his former friends. And Step 3, use Professor Tara's brain implant to guarantee, without a doubt, that he can't escape or turn around and harm them once he's let off the leash. It's incredibly risky, but honestly, it's a highly calculated strategy.
But why go to all this trouble? Because after trying to kill Mandy, that whole gang of villains, Grandpa, Granny, Jason, the whole lot, narrowly escaped the police by scattering in completely different directions. The cops can't possibly track all of them down at once. So, Mandy has to unleash her secret weapon. She is turning Jeff into the ultimate, unstoppable bounty hunter to track down his former friends one by one. The hunt is officially on.
Now, with this massive villain-on-villain manhunt kicking off, we pivot back to the Lateefa family in Part 4, the farmhouse mystery. Let's return to that dark, isolated property where night has fully set in.
Just look at how fast their false sense of security falls apart. Right when they arrive, Dada Abu fires up the generator. The lights come on, and the adults immediately brush off Tutu's fears. As we move into the nighttime phase, they're casually planning to clean up the dusty house, maybe grab a bite to eat, but then, late at night, disaster strikes. A sudden, total power failure wipes out all the lights.
Dada, Abu, and a seriously terrified Tutu head outside to check the generator, only to find out it is completely dead. It just won't restart. Dada Abu realizes it's totally broken, plunging them and this entire sprawling farm into absolute darkness. Tutu's terror is just going off the charts now. He realizes they are trapped outside in the pitch black, completely exposed, and he knows they need to get back inside the house right that second. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how we hit the absolute climax of the source material. Who is watching in the dark? Throughout the entire arrival, Tutu kept telling his family he felt like a shadow was watching them. Now, stranded outside in the dead of night, that feeling of being hunted becomes overwhelmingly real. The psychological horror just peaks right here.
Just as Dada Abu turns to head back inside and leave the busted generator behind, Tutu grabs him. He looks out into the vast, dark emptiness of the farm and says, "Dada Abu, wait, some people have come to our farm." And guys, the source material confirms Tutu is not just imagining things. There are actually distant figures standing out there in the darkness, silently staring right back at them.
Which leaves us with this massive, provocative question to end on. Who are the mysterious people standing far away, watching the Lateefa family in the dead of night? Is it the shadow the woman on the highway warned them about? Or, if we look at the timeline, could it actually be the escaped villains who fled the police and are now hiding out? Could Jeff the Killer be close behind them? The collision of these two narratives is set up so perfectly. We've mapped out the facts, the timelines, and the threats. What happens next in the darkness? Well, that's a mystery we'll just have to wait to uncover. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep learning, keep analyzing, and I'll catch you in the next one.